This is Catherine Dubberly, the Answer Lady. Today I'd like to show you how to wind a nice center pull ball by hand. Actually, this ball will either pull beautifully from the center or it will unwind nicely from the exterior. I realize that most of us have ball winders. I have a couple of them myself. However, you can't always get to one. I'm about to take a train trip and I realized, no ball winder. I can't take one along. But I can take my hand, and so this method almost works as fast as a good ball winder once you get used to it. It was taught to me by a knitter much older than myself who grew up in Europe. So this is a traditional old-fashioned method, and it works wonderfully well. Here you go. We start our ball by making a figure 8 around our thumb and little fingers. About 20 times is usually right, but it's going to vary a little bit with the thickness of the yarn and also with how you want your ball to behave. You'll get used to figuring it out as you go. Once you decide you have enough of a figure 8, lift it off your little finger and put both loops on your thumb. Both of them on the thumb. Now begin to wrap, not too tightly. Waggle your thumb that's holding the yarn as well as the hand that's wrapping the yarn. The waggling and the occasional twisting by just maybe a half an inch in position on your thumb is going to produce a cross-wound ball, very much like what some yarn winders produce. This ball will unwind equally well from the exterior or may be pulled from the center, which means that it's going to be really good whether you are knitting or crocheting or machine knitting or working on a knitting loom. Any reason that you need a ball of yarn, it will perform well. If you see it starting to pop up like this, just make sure that the next time around those loops get pressed in gently with the new wraps. You can make quite a big ball in this way. It depends a little bit on the size of your thumb. I'm coming close to running out of ability here. But there's a trick that you can do substituting an inch piece of dowel for your thumb. By inch, I mean inch in thickness, and it doesn't have to be exactly an inch. 3/4 will do. A piece of a broom handle will do. No real fuss, but you can make that longer than anybody's thumb ever is. And thus you can make a larger ball. I can do several ounces, sometimes up to 3 or 4 just on my thumb. And I'm about to come to the end of the yarn that I have to wind. When I do, I have a couple of choices. There's the tail. I could tape it down and put this in a plastic bag for safekeeping, or I could pull the center out, release it, and once this little chunk is out of the center and opened up, the rest will center pull beautifully. See how smoothly it comes out. Now, of course, having shown you this, I'm going to have to rewind my whole ball, but you had to see it. Whether machine knitting or any other kind of needlework, this would feed beautifully. It never tangles. But it would also come off nicely this way. Not, of course, if I have a yarn tail already sticking out. What you just saw was in real time, and I was actually working a bit slowly. But even so, I see that it's rather fast to observe what's happening. So now I'm going to slow the film down to half speed to make sure that it's clear to you what each hand is doing. At half speed you can see it much better, and you'll also see me make a mistake. I miss one of the wraps. It just doesn't hang on. And there is no problem about that. It doesn't cause trouble. I just continue to make the same motions and wrap it correctly the next flick of the wrist. No big deal. Don't expect your first ball to be a raving beauty. It does take a little bit of practice, but only a little bit. You will get very fast at it. I just can't tell you how much I have used this technique since my friend taught it to me, and I hope you find it as effective as I have. This is a real old school needlework technique, and it's way too good to let it get lost in the mists of time. So practice, make your own balls. It's a great way to keep your odds and ends neat and organized. Happy knitting, and bye now.